All right, so this is where we are currently at with your slab potion bottles. You have hopefully attached the two pieces with your coil in the center. Some troubleshooting, if you are working on smoothing it out and you have some places that it didn't line up, you can choose to kind of leave some of those caverns if you think it's interesting. For me, I have a really big area here that I don't like the way it looks. So as long as your clay is soft enough, there's a very easy fix to that. So I'm going to just roll a very small coil. I'm trying to make it about the length that I need. Score and slip. And then I'm going to place that into this little gap area that I have going on in my potion bottle to help create a more smooth and evenly formed shape. All right, so go ahead and just kind of blending that into the walls, okay? And so then the rest of the time, if you are still on this step, you would just want to spend that time kind of smoothing and evening out your vessel so you have a nice, solid piece to start designing on. All right, I've got a little bit of a spot there I'm going to smooth. Okay. Now, if you have smoothed things out, the next couple things you want to check are, one, make sure that your base is flat. Okay, so you want to tap that pretty well on your canvas board. I also want to make sure the top or the opening of my vessel is level, so I'm going to flip that over and tap that as well. Okay, so that I have an even and level surface to work with. All right. Going to go ahead and smooth out these other areas. You can apply slip if you are in need of better polishing. So I have like some little bits of clay and stuff here that have just kind of gotten smudged. So working all those clay pieces back into my potion wall. Okay. All right, so now we were going to make a gallery style wall, which a gallery style lid or wall is where you actually place another level of a coil inside of this opening. So you almost have like a stair step that comes out. Because a lot of these have quite a smaller opening, what we are going to do is something very similar to what we did with our pinch pot containers, where today you are going to take a slab of clay, take it up to the slab roller so that you get it the same thickness as this clay. I'm going to flip my vessel over and place the lid on my slab. And I'm just going to trace around that lid, okay? Don't forget to draw an exit line so that way it is easy to cut this out. Now I just traced the first time. This time I'm going to go through and cut, okay? So now I have a piece that is semi-close to the same piece size of my bottle opening, okay? So what I'm going to do then is score and slip this onto there, just like we have done in the past. So we're actually going to close it for a short amount of time here. Okay, so score and slip, okay? Depending on the opening, you're going to might end up with a really small piece. You only need to score and slip the outside areas where you're going to be detaching it. But that just depends on the person and what your bottle design is. Okay, this clay is obviously going to be much fresher and softer, so do be gentle with it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, try and make sure I have good seam attachment there. Make sure to kind of push down so I can see those slip bubbles coming out so that I know I don't have an air gap in there. Okay, so now I'm going to continue to smooth this out and shape this quite a bit. There's a lot of shaping that can happen here. But what we're going to do next is we're going to be drawing a lid line and cutting it just like we have done with the other projects. I'm going to go ahead and tap this just ever so slightly and gently to kind of get that nice lid topper. Okay, so once I have that looking the way I want it to, then what I'm going to do is draw my edge of my lid line, okay? So basically this becomes your base of your lid, whatever objects you're gonna add on top. If you remember my example, I was going to be putting a wedding ring up there, okay? This is basically my base now, okay? So I'm basically making this line across the neckline there. I'm going to make it a little higher than that because I still want my bottle to look like it has a neck and then it has the lid on top. I just thought these would be easier to be able to do it this way. Our openings are a little narrow to try and score and slip a coil into them. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and again, kind of keeping with my trend, I kind of had the lid dipping down and then I'm going to be drawing across, lid dipping down again. Remember, you want to make a notch or a key in your lid line, just like we did with our previous project, so that way there's something to lock that into your bottle, okay? So go always check that you have it connected all the way across, that you're happy with it. So I've drawn first, and now I'm going to cut, okay? Make sure you insert your modeling knife so that you're all the way up to almost the wooden part of the handle there. And just kind of a saw-like motion to go across. Okay. I always kind of angle it in whatever direction I'm going to try and make my cutting a little bit easier. Okay. So at this point, very gingerly and gently, I'm going to separate. All right. So you can see here you'll have some areas you want to clean up a little bit, just like you did before. Just try not to change the shape of your lid. Because you want to make sure they still fit together. All right, so now I have something like this, and I'm going to smooth out some of these uneven spots down here. Okay, might be a good time to get the paintbrush so I can go in there. All right, you will need to separate this with a paper towel now, just like we have done in the past, because you're going to have those pieces want to reattach because the clay is still wet. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of clean up my lid area using the paintbrush and a little bit of slip. My slip is really nice and watered down. If you feel like your slip is not helping you, you may need to add water to it. If they get too much water on them, they might be too dried out and they get just too sticky. So you might need to add water so it is going to be a thinner consistency. All right, so there's kind of what I have for now. All right, once you have that, I am now ready for the next kind of phase where I'm going to start transferring my design into my slab, okay? Because you have the same exact template, all right, you will be able to transfer directly. So what I'm gonna do here, and if you haven't already done this, you can easily do this, you're going to cut your two sides apart from each other. All right, so here's my front side. Just going to trim around, and since this is the same template I used to create the slab, it should line up quite evenly, okay? So I'm going to place it on there. You can use some T-pins if you would like to kind of hold it. Then I'm going to take a semi-dull pencil and trace all of my major lines and drawings here, okay? And I want to make sure I'm pressing hard enough so that I can see the indent into the clay. All right, so just pressing all the way through. And if you end up tearing your paper, that's okay. So it's looking like we're getting a pretty decent little transfer there. If you feel like it's tearing the paper, you might need to dull in your pencil a little bit. Okay. Just trying to get a simple transfer. And of course, then I will go in with possibly ribbon tools, you know, and create some of these sections to be more raised up than areas, do a little shallow relief. But first I need to just get my image on there. Okay, going over the computer screen. Because I have those letters like that, I think I'm going to leave those and come back to them because I want to carve out the screen part. I'm trying to get any planes that I've drawn to communicate that this is a computer keyboard. Okay, I have a few more emojis down here to trace. All right, so going to get this last little area here of the individual keys. Whoops, tore it up there a little bit. Okay, and then I'm gonna just kind of peel it off and check. Okay, so don't worry about that paper and stuff, that will burn out in the kiln. All right, so keeping my reference now, what I'm gonna do is retrace all of my lines so I can see them a little bit better. And if you feel like you can freehand it, I mean, that's up to you. I feel like a lot of people prefer to trace what they had written down as their idea. So these are the same kinds of steps we went through with the relief carving. All right. If you have the ability to peel up some of that paper, you can kind of grab at it. All right, here's where my computer screen was. So just retracing all of those edges now with my modeling knife. You want to make sure you keep your paper, don't throw it away, because depending on how your transfer came out, you might really need to reference that quite a bit so that you remember what your intention was with your image. Okay. All right, so now I have my basic shapes, and I will make another video talking a little bit about how I'm going to go through all of these, but I would be at this stage, I would be about ready to start deciding if I'm going to carve things and what's going to be carved down and what is going to be popped up. I'm probably going to have my hearts pop up, the background, everything behind these objects slightly at a deeper level so that these things pop up. Okay? All right, thanks.